Coaches, the next evolution in pitching, it's going to be starting to make our delivery towards the plate. What's important here will be balance. What you're going to have to continually reiterate to your players is that the initial stage of a pitching delivery has to be calm and controlled. So teach them how to do this slowly. Force them to feel every movement that their body is doing so that they can now self-correct. It's actually pretty amazing when you do it a few times. The player will be able to tell you what they felt they did wrong, and often they're correct. Force them to be slow and controlled in the initial phases of their pitching delivery. The actual delivery, the throw itself, is actually quite a violent act. So we're going to go from a nice, calm, collected delivery that's controlled and powerful into something that is just very aggressive, very violent, and transferring a lot of energy into that ball. So as we know, our first phase is our leg lift. I'll do it from a couple different angles for you so you're able to see everything, but nothing really changes. Adopt that stretch or set position, and when the player's ready, have them adopt their first balance point. Call this balance point 1 or leg lift, that's fine. The second one is basically I'm going to have my foot start to draw a capital L. It's not exactly how it's going to go, but for the purposes of teaching and training, this is how we want to start our actual glided delivery to the plate. And then when we do our pitch blending, our delivery blending, I'll show you the additional step that involves actually my hip and my rear end being the first thing that kind of goes to the target first. But for the purposes of drills and the purposes of putting it all together, we're going to go from balance point 1 down to balance point 2, which is me just lowering my front foot and separating my hands to the side. My front foot is now just a couple inches above the ground, and it's almost returned to the position that it started. My hands have just separated in the first phase of their movement towards my final throwing position. This should be nice and easy for the child to be able to get to and hold. A couple key things that we're looking for in this point is as my leg starts to travel towards the ground, and as your kids start to get tired, let them put their foot down. If they're struggling and fighting for balance, they're really not learning anything, they're just getting tired. First balance point, as my front foot starts to drop, my hands separate. As my front foot stops, my hands stop. Just for a teaching point. Obviously, we're not going to do this in a full pitching delivery, which is why blending is important later. A couple of things we're looking for. I do not want my elbows to start going back behind my body. If they're pointing towards second base, we're already on a poor arm path. We're actually going to be moving backwards and then around again, which is going to be very painful on the shoulders. Try it yourself, it just does not feel good. So what I like to try to do is explain to my players is as my leg drops, my elbows don't move. I'm just moving my hands. My front elbow pointed at my catcher, my back elbow is pointed at second base. And this is identical for both a right-handed thrower and a left-handed thrower. There is, of course, room for some deviation, absolutely. This is not set in stone. There are a couple different ways to get here. This is just the most efficient way that I have found, and it's the easiest way to instruct a kid. So, balance point 1 is our leg lift. Balance point 2, as my foot travels towards the ground, my hands separate. Stopping a couple inches above the ground, my hands down, my fingers are to the sky, my thumbs are pointing towards my thigh. Go ahead and use that rhyme with the kids. Fingers to the sky, thumbs to the thigh. We do not have to go way down here. It's an old myth or fallacy that was developed a long time ago. Every player will have their natural breaking point. Work with that natural breaking point. That's comfortable for the kid. We just want that player to make sure they're not getting into a poor arm path. That's the key in this one here. Balance point 1, balance point 2. And have fun going back and forth between the two of them with your player to work on their balance. It should become seamless. And as you can see, if we do that, work between the two, we're starting our blending.